Yo, Goof here, and this is going to be a very different video today. I'm going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk to for a very long time, but I just haven't really had the people or the time to really talk about it. Now that I have this moment, I'm going to be sharing a very long, lengthy thought video for you guys. And you guys are completely open to talking to me about it inside the comments. I am full willing to really discuss this matter. I'm just really curious on how everybody thinks about it, what everyone wants out of this, and maybe they can see through my perspective on what's going on. A little disclaimer is that I didn't really edit this too much because I wanted my talking to be the main focus. I didn't want overstimulating GIFs or anything else, and I know that's normally my type of channel or my little humor, but today I want to actually get my thoughts out on a table and kind of take into a civil, casual conversation. This will probably be a continuous series that I'm gonna call Goof's Little Rants, which is just pretty much as it's called, just me ranting about literally anything. It could be about games, just stuff in general, who knows. But yeah, that's going to be a new thing on my channel. I hope y'all can welcome it with open arms because I've been really wanting to get my thoughts out somewhere, and it's been really hard. Once again, I do apologize for the very minimal editing. However, I hope my topic that I'm talking about today is going to be a huge compensation for that. This is going to be my first rant video, so please be patient. I might stutter, I might ramble on to different points, I might repeat myself. It's just bound to happen when I do this. So hopefully in the future I can improve, and you guys can give me feedback. And just overall how to improve my speech, because that's also one thing I want to fix. Just how to properly speak in a clear, proper way. But yeah, that's basically it. Enjoy the video. I feel like asym games are getting more and more copy and pasted, and it feels like they just lose their all sense of originality. Like, the whole point of, like, these asym games back then when they first came out was they were something new in Roblox, because they were a dead genre for a very long time. And the games like Pillar Chase, Forsaken, those games when they first came around, they revived the genre of asym games more widely. I'm pretty sure we're obvious from that. But it's from the point that I feel like all these asym games are becoming more just to be put out there. I see more asym games get put out onto Roblox with all these huge ambitions and like plans, and then like months later I see that they fall flat because it's too much for the team to handle. In which, I'm not trying to prey on these games' downfalls, no, but I just think that everybody keeps putting their hearts towards these big popularity things just so they can be seen. And it feels like people don't really do it for the passion anymore. It feels like they only do it just so they know that they'll get some sort of spot in the reputation of asym games on Roblox. It's really sad. I really feel like everybody should be able to put their imagination together and make a really cool game. I mean, you don't have to make an asym game to be really popular or really good at what you do. I mean, there's games like Nullscape, there's games like Pillar Chase, there's games like Natural Survival Disaster, there's also Something Evil Will Happen, there's Tycoons, there's Obbies, there's adventure games, like there's everything. You could put your heart to any game you really want to. There's no limitation. Although, if you keep limiting yourself to what's popular, is there really any passion going into it? It feels like you're just gonna cater to an audience that you don't even have yet. And then when you fall flat on your face, it's gonna end up biting you, and everybody's not really gonna like you for leading up to something with no premise or build up. It's a matter of setting too much work for yourself. And I feel like over time it just gets worse and worse as these asym games trying to become more and more big and unique, and they try and differentiate themselves from, you know, the obvious big groups. But then it comes to the point of the fundamentals of the game. The fundamentals of chase games was never about stamina managing or map looping or like all these sorts of like things that lead to the games just being forever and tedious. Especially, like I said before, the usage of time. The whole point of Dead by Daylight was that there was no time at all included. And I know for mentioning Dead by Daylight is a very random thing, but that is the main premise of most of these asym games. Dead by Daylight is the big inspiration. Dead by Daylight is the big asym game out of everything. It's not on Roblox, but it's the big asym game that pretty much inspired majority of the asym games that you know. And it comes to the point where time kind of ruins the flow of chase games. Because most of these chase games that use time always end up not really feeling like scary because you already know you can run the clock, or it feels like the killer doesn't really have a chance because the time is already ticking down. It feels like most of these chase games use time as a crutch to make themselves stick out more, or make them feel like they have some sense of, I guess, how do I explain it? It makes them feel like they have this sense of safety net. Like they don't have to worry about anything going on for too long because the time's already going down. There's a max of 3 minutes and the most it can go up to is like 4. It's really a bummer because I really think that if you take away the time factor, a lot of chase games can benefit from more replayability and more grinding, more fun. Because most matches can be done within like maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how well the killer plays. And it just gets to a point where I feel like these games don't really have that sense of, hey, I like playing this game, let me keep playing it. There's a lot of games that can give you replayability, but not asym games, especially those with time involved. With Dead by Daylight, I can play like for at least an hour or two. With asym games on Roblox, it feels like I can only play for a good 30 minutes, and then eventually I'll either get too focused or too tryhard at the game, or the game will just get too boring for my taste, and nothing really changes, because the game only has a certain formula that's set, and it's catered to that factor of the time. In which Dead by Daylight, the match goes for as long as you make it. It's either the killer gets you, or you get all the generators. And I feel like with every asym game, there's not really objectives. They just kind of push this whole narrative of, yeah, we got some things you can do, but it's really just meant to screw over the killer or make the timer go down just so you can have an extra bonus. I feel like if asym games gave everything a purpose, gave everything a reason to exist, I think then that would be the perfect chase game to play. But until then, I feel like asym games just aren't really getting any better. So in my personal opinion, I just don't really like playing chase games anymore. I've recently stopped playing Forsaken, and I've noticed a major great increase in my mental state and also just my happiness, because I did not like playing that game. And even they might be saying, Goofster, I thought you did something for the game. Why wouldn't you be happy for doing something in a game that you helped out? The game flow, it doesn't make it worth it. I'm happy to have done something for the game, but it feels like I can't really enjoy myself because of the way this game is just done, or how most of these games just end up being. I don't really like playing these games because they normally just aren't really about skill. It's mostly about if you can run the killer. And I think that's a really big issue in most of these chase games as well. The ability to loop. Now, I didn't say it's removed entirely. I say that you should keep it. Only issue being is that it becomes a crutch thing that everybody uses. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a weak survivor, a good survivor, a weak killer, a strong killer, as long as there is a good loop. It doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. Your entire killer and abilities and playset can just be entirely negated by a loop. And if you're playing a survivor that also can just gimmick the killer without any time to react, 2 times, then you basically just have a free win. The killer can't do much, they can't react, and just the game kind of caters to the survivor side. Or just really the not really balanced side. Not saying survivors are unbalanced, they're pretty balanced. It's just a matter of the maps and game being balanced in general. It feels like these maps aren't built to have chases around them. It feels like they're only built to have some sort of like extending chases is the word to say it. Yeah, extending chases. Because most of these games, chases don't normally last longer than 20-30 seconds. But because of loops, these chases can extend for longer than a minute. Maybe even the whole match, depending on how well this person wants to target the survivor. It just gets to a point where I feel like maybe these chase games really need to work on their fundamentality of how their game should work and how the chases should be going. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's because I'm playing Dead by Daylight for too long. But I feel like most of these chase games really need to work on their objectives and just functionality of their matches. Because they got the gameplay of Survivor and Killer down, yes. But everything else, like the miscellaneous stuff of, objectives or like, map gimmicks, like stuff like that. Like Outcomememories is a game that's pretty alright. It doesn't have objectives. It doesn't really have anything besides, like I mentioned earlier. It does have a couple cool things though. It's got map gimmicks. Some maps on the last 80 seconds have a special thing, like overtime, the core blowing up and it can kill anybody within its vicinity, or you got the special gimmick in Green Hill where whenever a killer gets into first chase, the whole map turns into this gloomy version, but prior, it was a very happy and colorful version. That's really good. I think that's really cool, and chase games should benefit off that. Chase games should make their maps feel more alive than just a setting that we've only seen, and we can just roam around, that's it. Giving it more life and more personality, like I mentioned with Green Hill being all colorful and happy, but the moment the killer steps in and it becomes this dark, gloomy place, that adds depth, that adds good fundamentality to a map. Other than just, it's a map. Explore around, play whatever you want. It's something that I think every chase game would benefit from, because most of the maps just kind of feel stale. They don't feel alive, they're stiff, they don't move. It feels very blank canvas-like, and I kind of wish that most of those maps felt more alive, because there are some maps that I won't lie in Forsaken that I think are pretty cool. Like in Forsaken, the pizza place map. That one's pretty cool. I like the ongoing fires. I like some of the locations being broken apart and you can see the old stuff. And then let's also not forget the Flood Escape map, paying homage to like the actual original Flood Escape. That's a really good thing to do. I like that. Then of course in Die of Death, we got Teapot Paradise, which that one has the ongoing teapots flying in the sky. And like I said, map gimmick. In between matches of Teapot Paradise, it will change to have the pathways blocked off by a teapot. Originally, it's blocked off in the daytime over by the corner, but then when it comes into rain and starts setting into a whole different section of the song, the teapot goes onto the bridge and blocks off a whole different loop you can normally take. I think that's really cool because it changes the playstyle of how originally you were going to play. Oh, you were gonna run this guy around a circle on the bridges? Too bad, this teapot blocked you off. Now you actually gotta think on what you're gonna do because most of the spots are pretty tight and pretty risky to run. And I think that's really good. Especially with the whole idea of, like I said, making the game feel different. You want to make the game feel different with every time you play. Because if it's the same thing every time, eventually you will get bored of it. And I think that's not what every person wants from their game. They want everybody to play their game and feel happy about it and enjoy it. Because the last thing I've been seeing is that people keep on saying these chase games on Twitter are always ending up becoming boring, or they only see the toxicity side of it, or just the bad side of it. And that really stinks, because most of these chase games have potential. And I'm not saying that like some sort of potential man type shit, but I'm saying it in a way of I think these chase games can be really good and they can stick out on their own if they didn't try to heavily, rival Forsaken. That's what I've always like seen people make comments about on these chase games, that apparently it will rival Forsaken. And normally that's a pretty funny jab, but more times than not, that's kind of how it always ends up. They always try and rival the big asym game to see if they can be better, and that only makes them more flawed than the actual game. Because you're making the game just to fight a bigger game. That's not a game anymore. That's a spite project. If you're making a spite project, there's no point in working on it. Because it's not going to get far. Because all things in time do fade to obscurity. And unfortunately, some of those games that we know now are going to end up being like that because of the path they're trying to take. And I especially mean it to those that, once again, are trying to rival Forsaken. It's hard to rival a game like that. And I'm not saying that just because I worked on the game. No, I'm genuinely saying it because Forsaken is one of the chase games that took off to the public media. It's genuinely known outside of Roblox. And it's come to the point where I feel like maybe these chase games should not be trying to combat, Forsaken. Be your own self. Pave a pathway that you know you can take. It doesn't matter how long it takes. A finished product is better than a rushed and bad product. That's all I'm saying. But hey, you heard that from me though. You don't gotta take what I say into consideration. I'm just saying, spinning my piece. That's it, my brothers and sisters. Peace.